service, business finance, business administration, business management and communication techniques from the comfort of your home, your office, your computer, your phone, and it's at a heavily subsidized price of 185 Ghana cedis only. Yeah, you don't need any qualifications to register. Just call 059-460-444 or log on to www.chimeghana.org. Lord Paper and Bosom P. Young at Saboni. Song. It's a classic remake of Daddy Lube's Zankwaroma. Charlie, they did a good job with it. Yeah, I love the soul that these young kids are bringing into the whole hip life Afrobeat scene. Charlie, it's really good for Ghana music. I love it, and I'm sure you're loving it too as we serve it hot here on Drive Time on Joy. Our Drive Time is proudly brought to you by MTN and Access Bank. More than banking. You know how you subscribe onto one service and you're getting all the text messages and they're debiting your account, you're paying for some you really don't need now, you know. But MTN says, listen, we're offering you the control of your mobile experience with star 175 hash, so you can view, add or cancel subscriptions you no longer need in one place without the stress of searching for short codes to stop your subscriptions. That's it, one short code to do it all. Just dial star 175 hash to access your MTN content manager and follow the prompts, because we're good together. We're there for you everywhere you go.
Drive Time on Joy with Lexus.
I mentioned earlier Dr. Yaw Osafo, CEO of Medical Hospital, is going to join me as we talk about children and COVID. Do children really get COVID-19? All the testimonies we've seen are of adults. But do children get it? What does it look like with children? Is it deadly as well? Well, we'll get talking with Dr. Yaw Osafo. Akwaba. So guys, if you check out our Facebook live video, you see that today Doctor brought out his shade, his tonus, the one he bought from Kofi Ansan. For the past couple of weeks, he's been wearing his medical goggles Is that what you people call it?
The corona go.
The corona when he comes there. So is it that now you're not so scared of corona or what?
Yeah, gum kakra.
Anyway, well, good to know you're doing. Are you doing well?
Yeah, I'm good, Alexis. How are you too?
I'm very well. And how's the family back at Mampong?
Yeah, everybo's doing great.
Awesome. We're still in the corona season.
Yep.
Kid you not, you probably are hearing a lot of caution from elsewhere. Here we are cautioning people all the time, and you are not seeing people protecting themselves as much as they should and all of that. But coronavirus is still around, and people are getting it. Maybe now we're not bombarding you with the statistics like it used to come. I mean, some of us used to follow it daily, like religiously.
Yes.
You know,
you check your WhatsApp messages.
Yeah.
And then you check, then the number count changes, and then it used to be.
And you see the colored palettes that has new cases recovering. Nowadays I even hardly see those.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, everybody, some familiarity has set in.
But the truth is, corona is around.
It is, Lexus. It is. And good afternoon to all our listeners. It's good to come your way again another Wednesday. So the fact that we're no longer talking about corona with the same intensity that we used to in the beginning doesn't mean that it's gone away. I increasingly am getting to know people on a personal level who are catching the disease. You know, for the first time. Yes, I've heard about patients, but now some colleagues that I know for the first time. So then that's a new reality. So coronavirus is still there, and we keep getting a lot of questions. And over the past couple of weeks, people have been asking questions about COVID-19 and children. So today I decided, why don't we have a conversation around that? One of the questions that comes up is, this thing is a virus, but we vaccinate children against the childhood killer diseases, which include some viruses like the polio virus, measles virus, rotavirus, and so on and so forth. So if this is also a virus, then why can't that immunization cover it and so on and so forth? So today we're going to look at all things COVID-19 and children. Children of all ages can be infected with coronavirus, but children who get infected typically don't become as sick as adults. Yes, and a large majority who actually get the infection are asymptomatic. So that is the fact as we know it now. In the initial stages of the outbreak of this pandemic, I think the messaging was that children and young people in general are immune from the disease. But that has changed because we have seen young people and actually children do get the infection. So when we talk about children, then we are talking about all individuals below the age of 18. But then we subclassify them. We have teenagers, then we have children of school-going age, then you have children under 5, and then you've got infants, that's between 0 and then or under 12 months, and then you've also got the neonates, the first 28 days of life. So people worry, can a baby catch it? So again, I repeat, children of all ages can be infected with coronavirus, but then they tend not to become as sick as adults, and those who do get sick usually have very mild symptoms. I think in Ghana, no child, in that age group, has died from the virus yet. Whether it's a neonate, whether it's an infant, a child under 5, a child of the school-going age that's after 6 years, and then even indeed a teenager, we haven't had any mortality from that. Additionally, children who have underlying medical conditions. For example, a congenital heart disease, meaning I'm sure most of us have heard about this hole in heart condition. It's an example of a heart disease you are born with. That's what we mean by a congenital heart disease. Children with genetic conditions or conditions affecting the nervous system or their overall metabolism are also at a higher risk of getting a serious illness compared with those who do not have any of these conditions.
Okay.
So I remember when we talked about the underlying or pre-existing medical conditions and what how that contributes to the development of serious to severe or critical illness.
Okay.
So if you have a child and the child has any of these conditions, then the tendency for them to have much more serious symptoms when they catch the virus is higher. Why do children react differently to coronavirus? It's the same virus. So why is it that overall it doesn't appear to affect them that much clinically? The answer isn't quite clear yet. Remember, this is an evolving disease, and therefore the name, the novel coronavirus. Some experts suggest that children might not be as severely affected by coronavirus because there are other coronaviruses that spread in the community and cause such diseases as the common cold. So prior to COVID-19 or the SARS-CoV-2 virus, we had 6 other coronaviruses. So actually, this is not the coronavirus in itself; it's not a new thing. So there were 6 others. 4 of these coronaviruses are responsible for causing the common cold. The common cold that, I mean, most of us will have the cold, and we will probably never bother going to see a doctor. We'll just blow our nose, take some vitamin C, some oranges, and then that's it. So 4 of these coronaviruses are responsible for causing the common cold. The 5th one was responsible for causing SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome.
Right.
Then the 6th one was responsible for causing MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. And then this is number 7, which is responsible for causing COVID-19. So some experts believe that the previous 4, because children tend to get a lot of cold, or called a flu-like illness when younger, it tends to give them some cross immunity because it is still the coronavirus. So your body then responds by generating antibodies, and these antibodies are believed to be in significant quantities in children compared to adults. Hence, it granting them some degree of protection against COVID-19. It is also possible that the children's immune systems interact with the virus very differently than do adults. So the immune system fights the infection, and sometimes that actual fighting on the infection also leads to the clinical manifestation of the disease that we see. So when there's a saying that when 2 elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers, right? So when your immune system is engaged in a fight, sometimes you may have some effects that we would see. For example, a fever, a very terrible fever. It may be a good thing. It's a response from your immune system. If your immune system is down, then you will not be able to mount a fever. But then that fever is also terrible for you. So it is possible that the children's immune systems interact with the virus differently than the adults' immune systems. Some adults are getting sick because their immune systems seem to overreact to the virus, causing more damage to the bodies. But because in children, their immune system probably is not as sophisticated, it's not as developed, it's not as mature, then the reaction to the virus is not that strong or doesn't produce the, if you like, side effects that you would notice. And this may be a form of protection for the children. Can babies be affected by COVID-19? Well, although rare, infants, that is up to 12 months, or babies, are at a higher risk of severe illness with COVID-19. This is likely due to their very immature immune system. So your immune system needs to grow. I mean, when you're born day 1, it is very, very immature, and then it grows. So in that age group, we believe that because they have very, very immature immune systems, then if they catch the virus, they may or they are at a higher risk of getting a very severe form of the illness. Again, they have smaller, babies or infants have smaller airways. when we talk about the airway, we're talking about the passageway of air into the lungs. So they have much tinier airways compared to, say, older children and then teenagers and then adults. And since this is a respiratory illness, there's a tendency that when they get the illness, it is easier for the airway to become blocked, and therefore they have difficulty in breathing. So they tend to develop more severe breathing issues whenever they get COVID-19. There was a study that looked at quite a number of children, about 2,100 children with COVID-19, and it was quite clear how this particular point I made, being high numbers of severe illness in that infant age group, and relatively lower numbers in the children of school going age. So newborns can become infected with the virus during childbirth or by exposure to the sick caregivers after delivery. So far we haven't found mother-to-child transmission, that a pregnant woman transmitting it directly to the unborn child. That hasn't been detected yet. But then we know that in the nurseries, when the children are kept there and there is a worker who has been exposed, then it's easy for them to
also expose the baby.
Exactly.
Okay. If you have any questions, you can WhatsApp us on 0244-340437. You can call 0302-216-541. So let's talk about the symptoms of the COVID-19. We all are familiar with it for adults.
Yeah.
Are those the same symptoms children suffer if they have COVID-19?
Right. So, Kwame, as I mentioned earlier, most children would have asymptomatic or will be asymptomatic, meaning they will show no symptoms of the disease. But then the few that show symptoms, they experience similar symptoms to adults. So there's a fever, they may have a runny nose, cough, fatigue, muscle aches or general body aches, vomiting, and diarrhea. You know, so the same things as adults would have: a fever, a runny nose, a cough, fatigue, muscle aches, vomiting, and then diarrhea. So the severity of these symptoms all depends on or varies from child to child. If your child has symptoms of COVID-19 and you think he or she might, or you think that your child might have COVID-19, then these are recommendations that you need to follow. Call your healthcare provider. All right. So again, that's one of the things that we keep preaching, that most families should get into that habit of having a GP or a family doctor, family physician. Keep your child at home and away from others as much as possible, except to get medical care. So as I said, most of the children would be asymptomatic. So the guidelines, the infection prevention and control guidelines that have been published by the Ghana Health Service. So there is that emergency number. Try and call the number, and then you follow. If possible, have your child use a separate bathroom and bedroom from other members of the family, and then would maintain the same protocols.
I mean, with children, it's going to be difficult to practice social distancing. You know,
absolutely. You know, so you can't just keep the child on their own. I mean, they may not be able to bathe themselves. They may not be able to dress themselves. So that's where the tricky bit is. A parent or an adult would have to be exposed to that particular child. But we believe that most of the time the transmission is that way around. It's coming from either somebody up there, down there. So it's a bit tricky with them. But once they are asymptomatic, maybe it was through contact tracing that you realize that the child is. But if the child is asymptomatic, then really there's no need for hospital care, and you try not to let that child also be a focus of spread. So you follow the same infection prevention protocols.
Okay. Lexus, ask the doctor if a child with asthma is at a higher risk of contracting coronavirus.
Well, not at a higher risk of contracting it, but it's an underlying medical condition such that, so there's a difference between the infection and then the disease. So the infection is the presence of the organism in the individual. And then, so the virus is called the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So the presence or the coronavirus. The presence of the coronavirus is the infection. And that's when the risk of the transmission is what has been discussed severally since March. I mean, the respiratory droplets do not touch your eyes, your mouth, and then your nose. Now, these days, the face mask is now mandatory, and so on and so forth. So those are the risk of transmission. Asthma is an underlying medical condition, or it's a medical condition that affects the respiratory system. So if a child suffers from asthma, then the severity of their disease may be higher compared to a child who does not. That is, if this child goes ahead to develop clinical symptoms. So the child may be asymptomatic, may suffer asthma, may contract the virus because we didn't practice social distancing, we didn't protect the eyes, the mouth, and the nose, and then the child gets infected. But the child may be asymptomatic, may never develop any symptoms. But if the child's immune system, when that fight happens and the virus gets the upper hand, then that child, because he or she has asthma, is most likely going to have a severer form of the disease.
Okay. Well, interesting stuff there. If you have any questions, you can WhatsApp us on 0244-340437, or you can call us on 0302-216-541. You want to add something? Bob?
Yes, I just wanted to touch on the issue about the vaccines. So the issue about vaccination in children, or generally, the principle is that we introduce a vaccine is the introduction of a live or a weakened form of a live virus or a dead organism, microorganism, into another being or into a human being to generate an immune response to protect that individual from getting disease later on. So most people know about polio, which will be dropped into the mouth. Most people know about the BCG injection, which we get on our shoulder, our immunization schedule against specific diseases.
Okay.
So it used to be the 6 childhood killer diseases. I think diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio, tuberculosis, measles, yellow fever. Now it's been expanded to include hepatitis B, Haemophilus influenza, pneumonia, rotavirus, which gives you some kind of diarrhea. And it works for a specific thing. If you get immunized against polio by getting the polio vaccine, your immune system produces antibodies in respect of that polio virus. There wouldn't be a cross reactivity, a cross protection for all viruses.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't happen that way. So you don't get cross protection for all viruses because they have different genetic material. You know, some viruses are RNA viruses, you have DNA viruses, so it doesn't cut across both.
So it means that if we want protection for a coronavirus, we need a coronavirus vaccine.
Exactly. You need to be vaccinated against coronavirus. And now we know that there are even different types of viruses. This is the 7th one. And it's causing a different type of disease.
Now we're waiting for the world. We're waiting for Russia and then
But why are we waiting? Why would we wait on Ghana? Or why would we wait on
Well, we've not received any updates about whether... We've not received any update that there are going to be clinical trials for the vaccine from Ghana or from Mampong.
So we should be expecting...
What's a Mampong?
Monkeys play by sizes.
I hear you. Now, can an infant who is breastfed by an infected mother contract the coronavirus? Do we know whether it can be transmitted through breastfeeding?
Again, the science is not firm. The evidence is not there yet that it is transmitted through the breast milk. So no, at the moment, no. Again, it's an evolving science, so I haven't seen the evidence to suggest that it can be transmitted through breastfeeding.
Okay.
Neither can it be passed on during the pregnant state.
Okay.
So the coronavirus works by binding to certain receptors. It needs a receptor, like a lock and a key. So you're holding the key, and the lock it must have an appropriate lock for you to unlock with a specific key.
Okay.
And the receptors are not found in the placenta yet, and we don't think we find it in the breast milk either.
Okay. Well, good stuff. Maybe we should wrap up by, reminding people of some of the protocols, some of the things to do to protect ourselves and our children from the coronavirus.
Right. So I was very happy. As we are gradually easing the restrictions, trying to get back to some normalcy. We're going to have to, I believe, live with this virus, exercising all the protections. So we've seen what happened, with the reopening, of the schools. I'm sure it's going to get to a point where the primary schools and all that, they're going to go back. So just as the children have adapted to a lot of this online teaching, I was amazed when my children probably now know a lot more about using the tablets and Zoom and Microsoft Teams and all of that. I didn't know about those things.
Oh wow!
But now they are experts. And Kofi is in P2.
Wow!
So children can actually be instructed. Children actually follow regulations better than adults in my experience. So we're going to teach the children about infection prevention and control of COVID-19. So social distancing. All right, not to get too close, to each other. It's possible for the children to understand that because by children, we've instructed them about distance. So the physical distancing is very important. Children can wear the face mask. So there are appropriate sizes for the children to use. So let's teach the children how to wear the face mask. Children learn by observation. So if you, the adult, you are not wearing it because, I can't breathe. People are always giving that excuse. But I wear mine the whole day. So because I'm a doctor, I'm a human being to start with. But it is possible for you to wear it, change it when the time is due. I make sure not to touch the face of the mask. If you want to adjust it, learn to adjust it using the strings attached to it. So we teach the children all of those things, and then the hand washing, the frequent hand washing, and the use of the sanitizer.
Okay.
Let's instruct them to be able to do all of that.
Oti?
Hello, Lazarus.
Yes, welcome. Let's hear you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My question is that if we will need vaccine, what medicine are they using to cure them? People recovery. What the medicine they are using? So if you recover, can you have it again?
Right. So if I got you're asking whether if somebody recovers,
what medicine are they using to cover, help us to recover it?
Or for the recovery? Well,
yeah, recovery. Those who are recovering.
Those who are recovering. A lot of people are recovering on their own. It's their immune system that is fighting. So the immune system is the primary defense system that we have. And generally, when it comes to viruses and viral infections, it's your immune system. So the virus gets into you, you get sick, and then a lot of the symptoms that sometimes we experience is the reaction of the immune system. And then we try and give a lot of supportive therapy. So we talk about the zinc, the vitamin C. A lot of people are using that. There is, at the moment, we don't have clear-cut medication. That's why we still keep saying that there isn't a clear-cut medication. But all that we're doing is to try and give a lot of supportive care. So at a point, somebody may need oxygen because the lungs are not able to function properly. But then we'll give you that oxygen until your immune system is able to overcome the infection, and then you get better. So now the Ghana Health Service has approved some protocols for treatment. So if you get to the COVID treatment center, for those who are seriously ill, those who are ill requiring hospital admission, there is a protocol that the doctors are using. Now the question about when you recover, is it possible for you to get the infection again? That was the real kick in the groin, because initially we were thinking that, the scientific community was thinking that, look, if you get the infection, then you're protected for life, just like chicken pox for most people. But then there were a few reported cases of people having around 2 of the COVID-19 infection. They will still need a lot more data to be able to know whether this is applicable to everybody. But there have been reported cases. And
the concept with vaccination is introducing the virus into the body so that the immune system takes over, so that in future, if it comes, it knows how to deal with it, right?
Exactly.
So if the virus has already been introduced into your body and you're able to recover, shouldn't it apply in the same way?
Yes, but did you realize that there are 1,001 different diseases in the world? Why do we have vaccines for only such a few conditions? So it tells you that vaccines, that principle doesn't hold true for every single disease. Then secondly, this thing about your immune system having that protection lasting for life, it also doesn't hold for every single disease. So for example, when you get vaccinated against hepatitis B, we would measure the level of antibodies that you have produced, and then we'll tell you to get a top-up after a certain period of time, say 10 years. Why are we asking for a top-up? Because we realize that for that particular virus, the protection lasts for only a certain period, and then you need to top it up. For others, it is lifelong.
Okay. Well, that's about it. For those who would want to find out more from Doctor, you can reach him on his phone number.
Right. Yeah. So we'll continue the conversation on our social media platforms, and those who want to call in to answer our questions is 0501 477 340. 0501 477 340.
Dr. Yaw Osafo is the CEO of Medicas Hospital, Firestone, Medina, and Mampo Equiapem. Thank you so much for spending time with us, Doc. Next week,
welcome.
we would hope to see you again.
Sure.
Stay tuned into Joy 99.